Hi guys, Blacksmith Bets here. I wanted to make a video talking about football instead of MMA for once, because anyone who's been a part of my free Telegram group will know that I've been making a lot of money from betting football. And it will probably surprise a lot of you to know that I don't know much about football. You probably know more about it than me. I do watch a lot of games and I do bet on it frequently, but in terms of like a fan of the sport, not so much. I'm a massive fan of MMA. Football, I've grown up watching it, but if you ask anyone in my family, they wouldn't really think I'm a football fan. And to be honest, when I'm watching the games, I don't know all of the players' names. I don't know all of the managers, like especially when football changed from when I was younger and there was a new transition of clubs and different teams coming in. It kind of made it very hard to keep up with it if you weren't watching it regularly. Obviously, I do have my finger on the pulse. I'm a sports bettor and I bet football, so I'm not completely ignorant. But it might just surprise you because, like most people who are into sports betting on a casual basis, I think people get confused and think that the more knowledge they have about the sport or the specific game, the more money they can make on sports betting. And then they try it and then they lose money and they get shocked and they think, oh, I know so much about this game, I'm obsessed with it, and I can't make money. And that's the same for all sports betting. And I want to talk about in this video why it feels like you can't make any money and what you're doing wrong. I've had a few subscribers to my VIP service recently who I've had this conversation with, and I'm always interested to find out what's going on, how they've been betting. And to be honest, it's nothing surprising. They've all been betting exactly like 90% of people do. 99% of people do, sorry. And look, something I'm going to say here may confuse you because I do some of these things in my group. But the difference is I pick my spots carefully and I look for value. So 99% of people who bet football lose money, and they do it because they only ever do one thing. They bet on either favourites or very likely outcomes. Like, for example, they may bet Man City or a game of Man City versus a weak team. They may bet over 2.5 goals or Man City to win. You're not going to get good value because so many people bet on football. The lines are a lot harder to find value in than mixed martial arts, so you're more unlikely to find good odds. So look, you may win a bet betting on Man City to win. I'm sure people win betting them all the time. But the odds are so poor when you lose, that wipes out a couple bets worth of profit for you. And it's, they calculate the odds, the bookies, at a very specific amount to make it not worth your while most of the time. However, there are exceptions. Last night we had, and this was a bit of an anomaly game because they got a red card, but we had PSG who were playing Barcelona. Obviously Barcelona got the red card, which made the game a bit of an anomaly, but there was some great value in there. I tipped 3 plays and they all won. One of them was both teams to score, one of them was PSG to have more than one goal, and one of them was Mbappe to score. So you probably think those are quite typical bets, but look into them a bit closer because they are based on overs, but both teams to score was at 1.70. If you watch the first game, you'll know that it's quite likely to happen. So if you work out the implied probability, every odd, by the way, has a probability assigned to it. What we're trying to do is ascertain if the event we believe has a higher probability of happening than what the odds suggest. And that's exactly what happened with these 3 plays. So that 1.70 odds, I don't know what the implied probability is of that exactly, but the other 2 are probably better examples. Mbappe to score, 2.10 odds. I picked this because the previous game, we saw what happened. Mbappe got closed off, he got boxed off. He did get some shots off, but he didn't get any good chances. He's one of the best players in the world, one of the best scorers in the world. We saw the last game had goals. We knew this game would have goals. We know Mbappe didn't score in the last game, and he scores in most games. So he obviously was going to score this time, and he got a penalty in the end. So, you could say maybe he wouldn't have got that. But at over plus money, over evens, it's a good bet to take, and we cashed that. PSG, team total over 1.5. Why did I put that? One thing I know Mbappe's going to score, or I have predicted he will score. They're going to get at least 1 goal. They've got a lot of firepower, PSG, and someone else is going to probably score. Especially after we saw the first game with so many goals. But the real reason I took that bet is because it was at evens. Really good odds. It should have been at 1.70, 1.60 maybe even, in my opinion. So that's why I played it, because the odds were higher. When you work out the implied probability, which at evens is 50-50, it means 50% of the time the bookies are saying PSG will not score more than once, which I think anyone who watches the first game would know that wasn't the case. One thing I did, I locked these bets in the night before, so I got the best odds possible. The other thing I did was I checked not just these, I didn't just look for these outcomes, I checked through pretty much everything you could look at. I looked at players to have shots, and I did bet as well on Mbappe to have a certain amount of shots on another player as well. But I looked at a very diverse number of bets. I looked at corners, I looked at PSG to have a certain amount of corners in the first half. I had looked at it with Barcelona to have a certain amount of corners in the second half. I looked at all these combinations, and I determined that that was the most plus EV play. That was the play where the odds were most inflated, was Mbappe to score and PSG over 1 goal. That's what you're looking for. That's what professional sports bettors do, differently to the 99% of people who feel like they do win bets, but they just don't ever accumulate profit. That's because most people pick what they're betting on first and then choose the odds. They then look at the odds and say, I think that's worth it, I think it's not worth it. What we do as professionals, we're looking at the odds. Is that good value? Yes, that's good value. Obviously, we want to predict something that will happen, but just like the week previous, on the Friday night, I think it was, Plymouth, they were playing Leicester, at home as well. The odds for them to win were 6.75. I backed Plymouth. Now, did I think they were going to win? I backed them in the free group as well, by the way, so anyone who's following me would have got that play and would have cashed at 6.75 odds. Did I think they were going to win? No. But at 6.75 odds, that gave them, I can't remember what the probability was, I think it was a 13% chance of winning. They're at home, and if you've been watching both teams play recently, you know that Leicester have had letdowns against easier opponents, and Plymouth have been scoring. That is a combination that means an upset is, I wouldn't say it's a likely outcome, but it's more likely than what the odds suggest. I think it should have been capped at more like a 25% odd, so we take that every time. Because what that means is at those odds, where we believe the real probability is here and the implied probability is down here, what we're saying is we're going to take it right into that gap. And look, the play may not hit, but if we take those bets over time, if we take 100 of those bets, we'll make profit. So we're not necessarily expecting that bet to win. We just know mathematically, if we put our money on bets like this, we will make profit long term. And that's what you have to look at. So when I looked at Plymouth, I didn't start off saying, I think Plymouth are going to beat Leicester, so that's why I'm betting them. No, I saw the odds and I said, wow, that's quite high. Just like when Bayern played Arsenal, by the way. I didn't bet on it, but I said in my group, Bayern are massively overvalued. I can't remember what it was now, but it was something absolutely ludicrous. I didn't go for it, but I was considering it, and I should have gone for a double chance, which would have been the one, and I think they would have been at 2.80 odds or something like that. But they were like something crazy, like 5-1, and they're a team that play very well in these international competitions. I didn't predict that they were going to win. I just saw the odds and said those odds are way too high. Atalanta the other day as well. I should have played them. I almost did, or play against them. Sorry. They had a really good game. They demolished Liverpool. Typical letdown spot. Their next game against a weaker team, they're going to rest their players for the next game. They're also going to be overly confident as well. And also because of that demolition job they did of Liverpool, their odds were pushed down. So their opponent's odds were pushed up. So that was a plus EV opportunity. You could have got the double chance at really good odds as well, by the way. So they wouldn't have even needed to win. They just had to draw. This is how you have to be thinking. If you want to make profit betting a sport like football, you're not going to get value on the favourite team most of the time. Sometimes the books will get it wrong and they'll misread the situation, but the majority of the time there's not going to be value there. So you've got to look at totals, you've got to look at corners, all kinds of things. But the easiest place to find value is in the underdogs. You'll know this if you bet football. Underdogs win all the time. Upsets happen all the time. But nobody bets on the underdogs. Or if they do, they try it once and they never do it again. The idea is you have to do it over a long period of time, and then when you win, you don't have to win every bet. Just like with Plymouth, I don't need them to win. I don't need them to win 100% of the time. I only need them to win there. It was just on, I think it was just over 6-1 odds. I only need them to win, out of 6 games, I only need them to win like just over once. Or out of 5 games, you need them to win once. Those are good odds, especially at home. So this is how you've got to think. You've got to think by the value, by the odds. You've got to stop trying to predict the outcome. Because if you bet on good odds, it doesn't matter the outcome. Long term it's going to make you profit. That's how you should be sports betting. That's how I sports bet and make money. It's how I made 11.5 units in 3 days last week on a sport which was my secondary sport. UFC 300 was on. That's where 90% of my focus was. But I still cashed 11.5 units betting football just as an afterthought because there was loads of lines last week that were undervalued. Like Bayern, the 3 plays I just talked about yesterday as well with PSG. Spots like that, Atalanta actually, I didn't bet them. I almost did. They're at 7.50 odds versus Arsenal, and that just seemed astronomically high for an offensive team. You can look in my free group. I wrote a write-up saying they're an offensive team. They have the firepower to score. I should have pulled the trigger. And I'm making this video because we all know this is true, us professional sports cappers, but less than 1% of us actually bet this way. Every capper bets on favourites. They try and parlay favourites together, and it very rarely works out profitable long term. We need to start playing the value, the underdogs, the other smaller markets that most people forget about. This is what we need to start doing. Join my group, follow me. I'm doing it in a traffic light system. Green are safe plays, amber are slightly higher risk plays, red are high risk, high reward plays. Just like that Plymouth play that I cashed. Scroll through, look, you'll see that I've hit almost all of them since I've started doing this. I started this system last week and I'm up big time. This is how we have to start cashing. Start doing it yourself. Feel free to ping me a message. You can message me on Instagram to talk to me, or you can message me on YouTube in the comment section, or you can message me in Telegram, which is the easiest way. So join my free Telegram group, ping me a message if you want to send something my way, or you want to ask my opinion about the games that I've got. I'll post my analysis in the free group. If you want to sign up for my VIP service, you can do that there on Telegram as well. But guys, this is how we should be betting. I want to make this video because nobody is betting this way. And there are people who would be way better at it than me because I don't even know much about the sport as much as I've admitted here. But what I do know is, I do know value when I see it, and I do know when a team is undervalued. You will know too. Watch those odds, start betting some underdogs and start cashing.